Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe to watch our next video. Thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe to watch our next video.
Thanks for watching. Follow A Brighter Destiny for more powerful stories, and don't forget to subscribe.
Nia Bennett had endured 11 days of Grant Whitfield before he ever laid a hand on her. 11 days of comments in the hallway, 11 days of being cornered by lockers, 11 days of a smile that never once reached his eyes. Oh, Grant saw a quiet transfer student from Columbus, someone who would fold the way every other kid at Crestwood High folded when he decided to notice them. He was wrong, and by 3:52, on a gray Tuesday afternoon, the whole parking lot would know exactly how wrong he'd been. Or the story gets there. Drop a comment with the city you're watching from tonight and hit subscribe, because tomorrow's story hits just as hard. Nia pushed through the glass doors of Crestwood High. On the first Monday, she had a duffel bag over one shoulder and a class schedule folded into her back pocket. It smelled like fresh floor wax and cafeteria pizza, and the walls were painted in maroon and gold, colors she didn't recognize yet and wasn't sure she wanted to. Students clustered near the trophy case in their usual groups, throwing her the kind of glance new kids always get, quick, curious, and gone. "Lost, sweetheart?" She turned. A tall boy with sandy hair and a lacrosse jacket was leaning against a bank of lockers. 3 friends fanned out behind him like he was the only one who mattered in the hallway. D had kissing of ease the only comes from never once being told no. "Finding my way around," Nia said. "Grant Whitfield." He pushed off the lockers and stuck out a hand she didn't take. "Of the lacrosse team. I make it my business to welcome them up to instanced. Especially the exotic ones." "I'm not exotic," Nia said. "I'm black. There's a difference." His friend snickered, but Grant's smile didn't move an inch. "Oh, I like that. Where'd you transfer from?" "Big city girl in a small town now. Work a little different out here. More traditional. You'll catch on." Her eyes dropped down at her body in a way that made her skin crawl, and she stepped sideways to pass him. Up with her, blocking the path without ever raising his voice. I'm being friendly here," he said. You don't want to make enemies us on day one." "Oh, I don't want to make friends either," Nisa said, and walked around him before he could answer. By Wednesday, he had memorized her locker number, tutored for it, and her schedule, all 6 periods of it. Also showed up outside chemistry holding a banana like a peace offering. And when she wouldn't take it, he tossed it in the trash and told his friends she was playing hard to get. By Friday, he was leaning on her mother's Honda in the parking lot after last bell, running his palm along the hood like he was appraising livestock. "Oh, and it could equal crabber's leads in my Mustang," he said. "Nicer than this thing. Or maybe you need protection. Things happen to people who don't fit in around here. Misunderstandings." He let that hang in the October air for 3 full seconds. "Stick with me and nobody bothers you." Nia unlocked her door, grabbed it before she could shut it. "Think about it," he said. "Make it worth your while." Following Monday at 8:14 in the morning to a guidance counselor named Mrs. Eltsplay, Holloway had a coffee mug that said, "World's okayest counselor," and a stack of paperwork she never once looked up from. "He told me he could be my master like in the old days," Nia said. "Washam follows me to my car. He touches me when I've told him to stop." Mrs. Holloway finally raised her eyes. "Grant's a good kid. On a roll. Star athlete, comes from a good family. Sometimes when we're new somewhere, we misread social cues. Or, to be a little more umbrellant, give him a chance." Nia left that office, feeling like she'd swallowed a stone. Cry. She'd stopped crying about boys like Grant back in 8th grade, in a different school, in a different state. What she'd instead was call her father and repeat the whole conversation, word for word, while he sat at the kitchen table with his hands folded like he was praying for patience. Bennett had spent 9 years in the Marine Corps, and last teaching his daughter Muay Thai in the backyard of every house they'd ever rented. Didn't raise his voice when she told him what Grant had said. Must asked her 3 questions, exactly 3. And the last one was the only one that mattered. Oh, to tell him to stop. Yes. Did he stop? No. Then you already know what I taught you. Mother, he reached across the table and took her hand. Never start a fight, but you finish the ones that come looking. 2 weeks passed the way a slow building storm passes. Quiet at the center, loud at the edges. Across the school, a sophomore named Danny Ruiz watched Naya get cornered by the gym doors and recognized the exact look on her face. Because he'd worn it himself 2 straight shuntrich years, ever since his family moved from El Paso, and Nelson Cruelty decided his last name was funnier than his personality. Aline had learned to take the long way around the science wing. He had learned to eat lunch behind the auditorium. Watching Naya refuse to shrink made something in his chest ache, with a feeling he hadn't let himself feel in a long time. Hope. And right behind it, fear for what it would cost her. This Tuesday, at 3:52 in the afternoon, in the student lot behind the gymnasium. Ott had spent the whole day nursing a bruised ego. Word had gotten around that Naya turned down a ride from him in front of half the junior class, and by 6th period his friends were laughing about it behind his back instead of in front of it, which was somehow worse. He found her walking to her mother's Honda and grabbed her arm before she reached the door. "You're not done talking," he said. "Yes, we are." She pulled her arm free. "Or you embarrass me." His grip found her again, tighter this time. "Howard, to learn some respect." His palm cracked across the back of her jeans hard enough that the sound carried across 40 feet of asphalt, and his friends burst out laughing behind him, like it was the funniest things they'd seen all semester. On a full second, nobody in that parking lot moved. Just hung in the little alternate outlet. The car door somewhere clicked shut. I was still smiling when Naya turned around, and something in her face made that smile falter before her fist ever left her shoulder. Her right hook caught him square on the jaw, and the crack was audible from 20 feet away. Eyes rolled back, and he folded onto the pavement, like a marionette with its strings cut. Old Tyler swung wide and sloppy, and Naya ducked under it and drove her knee into his ribs hard enough to fold him over, gasping. Connor grabbed for her wrists, and she spun free and caught him with an elbow that sent him staggering into a parked truck. The whole thing lasted 19 seconds, and when campus security arrived at 3:53, 4 boys were down, and Nia Bennett was over all of them, breathing hard, her knuckles already starting to swell. Nobody in the crowd was already filming. Principal Dawson's office felt like a courtroom built for one verdict. 12 days of suspension, he announced, not looking up from his desk. Naya had, in his words, initiated a violent assault against 4 students, and she was lucky the police weren't involved. What about what he did to her? Denise Bennett leaned forward in the hard plastic chair beside her daughter, her voice tight as a wire. "My boy put his hands on my daughter. There's video." "No, I reviewed begins with Nia throwing the first punch," Dawson said. "Whatever happened before that is hearsay." "Convenient," Denise said, "that the part before that seems to be missing. Wasn't a coincidence." By that evening, Grant's father, Robert Whitfield, owner of 3 car dealerships across 2 counties and a 14-year member of the school board, had made 6 phone calls. And the version of the footage sitting on the school's server no longer showed his son's hand ever leaving his side. "It will blow over," Robert told Grant, pressing an ice pack into his son's palm. "Oh, girl will think twice before she embarrasses a Whitfield again." Aunt wasn't thinking about the suspension. He kept replaying the half-second before her fist landed, the way she'd moved like she already knew exactly where his jaw would be. 2 days into Naya's suspension, Danny Ruiz watched Grant corner a freshman named Emma Walsh by the water fountain, close enough that Danny could hear every word. "Know what happened to the last girl who was rude to me, Grant was saying. Might even get expelled. Danny's stomach turned over, and before he'd fully decided to, he was on his feet. "We're alone," he said. Grant turned, delighted. "What do you want?" "I'll call your girlfriend Nia." "Oh, wait. She's suspended for being a violent thug." "Oh," fled. Grant's friends closed a circle around Danny instead, and 20 minutes later he walked home with a split lip and a warning ringing in his ears about what happened to kids who ran their mouths. Night. He found Nia's number through a substitute teacher's roster and called her at 7:40, his voice thick from the swelling. "Oh, there are others," he told her. "Kids who've been dealing with him for years. Note, if you're willing to talk, people are ready to listen." The gym 2 days later, 4 students waited for Nia in the fading October light. Danny, still nursing his lip. Walsh, 17 days into being terrified of hallways. Malik Turner, a sophomore who'd had his lunch money taken every Thursday since freshman year. Olive Owens, a quiet junior with wire-frame glasses who admitted, barely above a whisper, that he'd been doing Grant's homework since September because saying no had cost him a black eye in August. "Oh, it's all of us, Smets." "That's the idea," Nia answered. Oh, her father's voice was in her head, the same 3 words he'd said the night before. "Build something bigger. We meet here every day. I'll teach you what I know. Not starting fights, we're finishing them." Word moved through Crestwood's underground network, the way water finds every crack in a foundation. By the following week, the group behind the gym had grown to 15, then 23. Kids who had spent years learning which hallways to avoid and which teachers wouldn't look up in time to help. Aya taught them how to break a wrist grab, or to strike to end a fight in 3 seconds instead of 30, how to stand those their shoulders stopped telling the world they were afraid. Notice the shift before anyone explained it to him. Oh, kids who used to flatten themselves against lockers when he walked past were meeting his eyes instead. "What's going on?" he told Tyler on a Friday, watching Emma Walsh walk past without flinching for the first time in a month. "We need to send a message, the kind that leaves a mark." He recruited from the football team next. 6 players, including a senior linebacker named Chad Prescott. And by the following Wednesday morning, the fragile PS Crested High cracked wide open. Started in a first-floor bathroom at 803A. When 3 of Grant's recruits cornered Caleb Owens before he could reach his first class. Caleb wasn't alone. Malik and 2 others burst through the door mid-attack, and the bathroom turned into a war mess zone of fists and tile and shouting that echoed clean down the science hallway. Home security arrived. 3 football players were on the ground, and Caleb was standing, bloody-nosed but upright, held up on either side by his friends. 5 students from Nia's group were suspended within the hour. Word of this real victory spread through the school faster than any suspension notice ever could. Lunch. A junior named Sarah Whitmore sat down at Nia's table uninvited. She'd watched the whole war unfold from the sidelines. For weeks, she admitted, ever since Grant's crew cornered her friend in September and made her cry so hard she missed a week of school. "I should have said something then," Sarah said. "I'm done being quiet." Ocean. By Thursday morning, both sides had drawn their lines in chalk that everyone in the building could see. Nia's group had grown past 30. Grant's had pulled in graduates who had no business still hanging around campus after 3 p. At 9:30, during the passing period, 3 freshmen sitting near Nia's group were cornered by 4 of Grant's recruits, and the spark that had been building for a month finally found its fuel. The hallway exploded. Bodies slammed into lockers. Textbooks flew through the air like startled birds. Somebody pulled the fire alarm at 9:34, and the sprinklers came on overhead, turning the tile floor into a skating rink slick with chaos. Aya found herself fighting 2 seniors at once, using the narrow hallway to her advantage, sweeping one boy's legs out from under him and sending him sliding into the trophy case in an explosion of glass. Downey grappled with Tyler, Wall, Emma, and three other girls pinned, renamed Brittany Cole, against a locker. Windows cracked. A teacher's voice tried and failed to cut through the noise. Somewhere behind it all, sirens were already climbing toward the building, because Robert Whitfield had made one more phone call at 9:31, this one to a friend on the police force, describing exactly the kind of chaos he needed the world to see. Naya in the flooded hallway at the Iasturm, and for a moment, everyone else fell away. He said, blood running from his split lip. No friends, just us. They fought for nearly 2 full minutes in ankle-deep water, past the point either of them had anything left until Naya's final punch caught him in the exact spot she'd hit him the first time, and Grant went down and stayed down. A hound of boot next, a dozen officers in riot gear flooding through the main doors, and Naya was still standing over him, chest heaving, when Robert Whitfield walked in behind the police and pointed straight at her. He said. That's the one who organized all of this. Elfs went on at 9:41 a.m. Her father pushed through the crowd of officers, refusing to be moved, telling her to say nothing without a lawyer, telling her she had done exactly what she needed to do. Behind them, students who had never spoken a word against Grant Whitfield in 2 years were suddenly saying it loud enough for the cameras already arriving outside. He started it. He'd been doing this for years. She was defending herself, and everyone in this building knew it. Property damage came out to 54,318.60. 9 students were treated for injuries. By that evening, the story of a riot at a small Ohio high school was leading the local news with cell phone footage spreading faster than the district could get ahead of it. On-up steps were lined with protesters. 3 weeks later, students holding signs that read "Justice for Naya" and "Stop Protecting Bullies." Inside, District Attorney Rebecca Hale opened with a case built entirely on the riot's aftermath. $54,000 in damage, a school turned into what she called a battlefield. A defendant who had organized and led it. Naw's lawyer, a young public defender named David Owens, Caleb's older brother, working the case for free, rose to answer her. Nia Bennett is not a criminal, he said. She is a victim who, as a adult, was supposed to protect her. Principal Dawson took the stand first and admitted, under cross-examination, that his office had logged 17 formal complaints against Grant Whitfield in 2 years and acted on none of them. Our family has been very supportive of this school, he says. And the murmur rolled through the courtroom, told him exactly how that sounded out loud. Hopefully, the real turn came on the 3rd day, when Danny Ruiz took the stand and told the court what he'd found 3 nights earlier. Buried in a folder of deleted posts Grant had never fully scrubbed from an old account. Of Grant bragging to his friends about breaking in the new girl, recordings of a phone call with his father, discussing which officer to call and when, message thread planning exactly how to make Ania look like the aggressor before the riot ever started. The footage played on a courtroom screen at 11:12 that morning. Grant's own voice fills in silence. We'll make it look like she started everything. My dad's already talked to the cops. One by one, Nia's friends took the stand after that. One described being cornered by the water fountain. Malik detailed 2 years of stolen lunch money and a shove into a trophy case that left him with 4 stitches. Kolab, who had barely spoken above a whisper behind the gym 8 weeks earlier, told the room in a clear, steady voice exactly what it costs to do someone else's homework under threat of a black eye. Juan took the stand himself against a lawyer's advice, coached, careful for the mustards and it's until David Owens asked him one question too many. Most tell Nia Bennett you could be her master, like in the old days. What was a joke, Grant said. She doesn't have a sense of humor. Oh, did you slap her in a school parking lot? She needed to learn some respect. Girls like her think they can just... He caught himself a half-second too late. Girls like her, David repeated. You mean black girls. You mean girls who don't submit. You're twisting my words. They're your words, Grant. Your own voice, your own video. David let the silence sit for 3 full seconds before he spoke again. Aren't her because she was new, because she was black, and because every adult in that building had already taught you. Nobody would stop you. That's how the world works, Grant said. And the courtroom went dead quiet around him. Well, some people matter, and some people don't. Judge Alvarado didn't need a recess to reach her decision. All charges against Nia Bennett are dismissed, she. And the courthouse steps outside erupted before. The words had even finished echoing off the walls inside, ordering a full investigation into how this district handled complaints for the last 2 years. Mr. Whitfield will face his own charges for assault, harassment, and conspiracy. Ortnett was led out in handcuffs with his father behind him, head down for the first time anyone at Crestwood had ever seen. Months later, Nia walked the same hallway on a Tuesday morning that looked nothing like the one she'd first walked into in October. New posters lined the walls with a reporting hotline, printed in bold letters at the bottom of each one. Caught up to her by the trophy case, the same trophies that had been replaced with new glass in November. Grinning like he'd swallowed good news whole. Art got sentenced yesterday, he said. 2 years, plus community service after. Holmes, his dad, lost his seat on the board too. Noah felt something complicated settle in her chest. Relief without triumph, the kind of quiet that comes after a storm rather than a celebration. Paul Dawson had resigned in December. Coach Alvarez, one of the few adults who had believed Nia from the very first week, was running the school interim principal, and the peer mediation program she'd asked Nia to help design was already being studied by 3 neighboring districts. Graduation that spring, vi utannonserade Udeporek, and instod elderdikton gjort borde alla crowdjord. Torture becomes some she never planned on becoming. I transferred to this school 8 months ago, she said. I just wanted to finish quietly and move on. I wanted to be the center of anything. She found her father in the crowd, standing perfectly still, the way he always stood when something mattered too much for words. Ushers him up as low home and smessel also hard thing. Up isn't only about throwing a punch. It's about refusing to let cruelty get called tradition. It's about believing change is possible even when the whole system is built to prevent it. The applause that followed her off that stage lasted longer than anyone bothered timing. It's been a dramatized story inspired by real patterns of bullying and discrimination that too many students still face. Every name, school, and location in this video is fictional. You or someone you know is dealing with harassment or bullying, please reach out to a trusted adult, a school counselor, or your local youth support line. Don't. You deserve to be heard the first time you ask for help, not the 5th. No story moved you. Hit subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's. Drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever had to stand up the way Nia did? Read every single one. Disclaimer. This story is a work of fiction created for entertainment and educational purposes only. All characters, names, businesses, and events depicted are entirely fictional and do not represent any real person, living or dead, or any actual establishment. Resemblance to real persons, organizations, or events is purely coincidental. Content is intended to explore themes of human dignity, workplace ethics, and social justice through narrative storytelling, not make factual claims about any individual, company, or institution.